Hello and a very warm welcome to a special edition of the Battle Cry. I'm Gaurav Sawant. Post Operation Sindoor, when the Indian Armed Forces, in their strongest response yet to Pakistan state-sponsored radical Islamist terror, hit 13 plus Pakistani air bases, radar stations and 9 terrorist training camps, launch pads, including the headquarters of Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed at Muridki and Bahawalpur. For the first time ever, a decision has been put in place to have the armed forces be future combat ready. Now, how are the armed forces gearing up for future combat? The forces remain deployed along the northern borders, that's the India-Tibet boundary, and the western borders, the line of control, the actual ground position line, and the India-Pakistan border. Today, on this special broadcast, we will talk about how the forces are being made future ready. For example, we will talk about the Rudra All Arms Brigade, the Bhairav Light Commando Battalion, a drone platoon that will be integral to every battalion, the Divyastra battery integral to the fighting formations on the front lines, and that big Swadeshi push in the army air defense with their war cry, Akashe Shatrunjahi, which literally translates into shoot the enemy, shoot and destroy the enemy in the air or kill the enemy in the sky, like we saw Pakistani drones and their incoming missiles and their aircraft being decimated during Operation Sindoor. So joining me on this India Today special broadcast is Lieutenant General K.J.S. Dhillon, former Director General of Defence Intelligence Agency and former Kashmir Corps Commander, and also my privilege to have on this broadcast Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, former Director General of Infantry, and General Kulkarni had planted the first tricolour on the Siachen Glacier at its northernmost point as part of Operation Meghdoot in 1984. But before I come to our guests and understand how these integrated battle group concepts are coming together for future battles, let's listen in to General Upendra Dwivedi, the Chief of the Army Staff, on the 26th Kargil Vijay Divas, giving us broad details about how the army is being made future battle ready.
आज की भारतीय सेना न केवल वर्तमान चुनौतियों का सफलतापूर्वक सामना कर रही, बल्कि हम नित्य प्रतिदिन एक परिवर्तनशील, आधुनिक और भविष्य उन्मुख शक्ति के रूप में तेजी से अग्रसर हो रहे हैं। इसके अंतर्गत रुद्रा के रूप में नई ऑल आर्म्स ब्रिगेड का गठन किया जा रहा है, जिसका सैंक्शन मैंने कल ही दिया है, जिसमें इन्फेंट्री, मैकेनाइज्ड इन्फेंट्री, आर्मर्ड यूनिट्स, आर्टिलरी, स्पेशल फोर्सेस, अनमैन्ड एरियल सिस्टम जैसे फाइटिंग कंपोनेंट्स को एक साथ रखा जाएगा और विशेष रूप से तैयार किया जाएगा, जिसमें शामिल लॉजिस्टिक सपोर्ट और कॉम्बैट सपोर्ट होंगे। इसी क्रम में भैरव लाइट कमांडो बटालियन के रूप में एजाइल और घातक स्पेशल फोर्सेस का गठन किया गया है, जो सीमाओं पर शत्रु को चौंकाने के लिए हमेशा तैयार है। हर इन्फेंट्री बटालियन में ड्रोन्स प्लेटून का गठन किया गया है। वहीं आर्टिलरी में शक्तिमान रेजिमेंट बनाई गई है, जो ड्रोन और काउंटर ड्रोन इक्विपमेंट और लॉयटर म्यूनिशन के साथ लैस होगी। हर रेजिमेंट में एक दिव्यास्त्र बैटरी भी बनाई गई है, जो कंपोजिट बैटरी होगी और इन्हीं सामानों से लैस होगी। इन चीजों के मद्देनजर हमारी मारक क्षमता अब आने वाले दिनों में कई गुना बढ़ जाएगी। उसी प्रकार से आर्मी एयर डिफेंस को स्वदेशी मिसाइल सिस्टम से इक्विप किया जा रहा है। हम पूरी तरह से तैयार हैं कि भारत की 100वीं स्वतंत्रता वर्षगांठ तक, यानी विकसित भारत का सपना साकार करें।
So on Battle Cry, let's dive deeper and talk about, for example, the Rudra All Arms Brigade first. The army says the Rudra All Arms Brigade integrates various combat elements and support elements into one single cohesive formation for rapid deployment and for versatile operations. So it's designed to enhance combat readiness and adaptability. And it could be any kind of a battlefield. It could be high altitude, it could be the Siachen battle, the actual ground position line, the 770-kilometer long line of control. It could be in depth areas. It could be along the burning deserts in Rajasthan, the plains of Punjab, or the marshland in Gujarat. The composition. It includes the infantry. It includes the mechanized infantry, both tracked and wheeled, armored units. So it will have its tanks, the artillery, the 155 howitzers, and now it will also have the Shaktiban unit, because drones are becoming integral to combat. They are the disruptive future formations, the disruptive technology that's coming into combat, the unmanned aerial systems and the counter UAS systems. And these will be supported by dedicated logistics and combat support structures, all living and operating together, making it a self-sufficient unit for swift and multi-axis offensive. What's the purpose? To operationalize the Indian Army's cold start doctrine, and during the course of the battle cry, we will tell you about why there was a need for cold start doctrine and the integrated battle group concept, so that there's rapid technology-driven response to the threat that India faces. So it's modular, multi-domain conflict. It's combining digitization, automation, precision to deter and to respond to a wide range of threats. And it's not just being thought of. 2 existing infantry brigades have already been converted into Rudra Brigades and deployed along the borders, both with Pakistan and to deal with the threat on our northern borders vis-a-vis China. The composition, it may be based on very specific duties and operational requirements, but work has already started. And let's now break this down. General Dhillon, your take on the Rudra Brigade. Is this refining that integrated battle group concept, and you'd studied the cold start doctrine and the IBGs very closely, sir?
Good evening, Gaurav, and good evening to General Kulkarni and your viewers. First of all, Rudra Brigade or the All Arms Brigade, or call it an integrated battle group, we must understand why the need was felt. The need was felt because the battlefield and the warfare is ever evolving. And what we've seen in Operation Sindoor, a 4-day war happened between 2 nuclear powers without even a single person crossing the international boundary or line of control. So this is a new phase of battlefield of future. So coming back to the All Arms Brigade or integrated battle group. In earlier concept, 10, 15, 20 years ago, when we were youngsters, there used to be an infantry or armored brigade. And during the exercises or during the training period or just before the actual operations, the artillery component, the infantry component, the mechanized component, and the logistics components would come and join up, and the brigade will go into battle. Now with today's threat, which is existing on the battlefield, is multi-domain. You have a direct threat from the infantry and mechanized and armored weapons. You have aerial threats from drones, the missiles and the aircrafts and the attack helicopters. So when the threat is multi-domain, your protection of the composite brigades has to be multi-domain. And their ability to perform the task in any terrain has to be specific to that mission. Therefore, the need was felt to have the brigades component or composite, so that during peacetime, they stay together, they train together, they play together, and the homogeneity is better. So that when they go to the battlefield, it is not that just prior to the going into battle, in the forward assembly area, someone walks up to you and says, "Sir, I am your RTOP." Right. So this cohesiveness will be better off, and for commanders, it will pay better dividends, and this will be based on the terrain in which the operations are taking place. As you very rightly said, could be Siachen, high altitude, the plains, the jungles, the northeast or deserts. So based on the terrain, the composition will be mission specific.
Okay, let me now just delve a little into history. General Kulkarni, after Pakistani terrorists attacked the temple of our democracy, our parliament, the then Vajpayee government had ordered the army to strike, we were told, as part of Operation Parakram. Much later, we learnt that their thinking perhaps was strategic posturing and coerce Pakistan into submission without fighting war. Now, did that strategy work in your appreciation? And perhaps that is why we saw the cold start doctrine come into place. How is this current Rudra Brigade either different from IBG, part of IBG, refinement of IBG? How does this fit into the cold start doctrine?
Thank you, Gaurav, and and thank you, Tiny, also. It's a great feeling. First and foremost, the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without a fight. That's what it is all about. And therefore, when we have Rudra Brigade, an all-arms concept, an all-arms ready brigade, two of them, I understand, are already under, being organized, formed, and working well, and which includes your infantry, your mechanized infantry, your special forces, artillery, armor, all kinds. Basically, with a view to ensure that they are battle ready, be able to meet the current challenges. With, as like Jalan rightly brought out, you don't really know now. There's hardly any time. There's no reaction time. So until and unless
Yes.
you're ready with this kind of a totally an all-arms concept, it would make no sense. And therefore, they are net-centric, they are technologically advanced, they have all the doors, they have their anti-drone measures. So therefore, they are ready to go into battle and be able to strike and be lethal, be agile, and be able to achieve its aim under any of these terrain conditions. Because India is one country which has varied terrain conditions. You could have high
Yes.
altitude going as high as 18,000 to 20,000 feet where fighting is on, and even desert. So in this kind of terrain, we having an all-armed brigade is something which is really required. And like Dylan rightly brought out, it was always there as a concept, but it was being organized as and when we required it. But now it will be forming a part. It's it's a part of the WE. So you have a Rudra Brigade. So you have an all-armed brigade. Like you not only have the Rudra Brigade of Bhairav. Now basically there's even if you look into it, they're real Shiva form, Rudra and Bhairav. And both
Yes.
of them must be able to deter the enemy. They must be able to instill fear into the enemy. And once you have these two in there, you know what the enemy will also expect. You, wow, it's not going to be easy now. That's kind of a fear. That fear of the God has to be instilled into the enemy so that they don't even attempt to think of wanting to do what they want to do at that point of time. That's the real aim
Interesting.
of
So
the Rudra and Bhairav.
Lord Shiva, the destroyer, and these are those formations that will destroy the enemy should the enemy try and target us by hook or by crook. General Dhillon, because India had tried multiple confidence building measures with a state sponsor of radical Islamist terror, Pakistan, including having as a CBM or confidence building measure our strike forces or forces that were to attack the enemy in times of war pushed back in the rear area, whether it's Bhopal or Mathura or elsewhere. Clearly that didn't work. Given your long experience in dealing with Pakistan, either in a conflict situation or in counter-terror situation, there can be no confidence building when the enemy is sworn to kill you or degrade your warfighting capabilities. Will these formations help, and in your opinion, how?
Gaurav, you're right. Pakistan as an enemy has been the most treacherous, has been the most unreliable, or you can't trust even after having signed some treaties or understandings with the enemy. Therefore, it is absolutely correct now to strike at the place and time of own choosing. And we should be so organized. That's what Rudra and the Bhairav battalions would be. And in any case, in warfare, Sam, Dam, Dand, Bhed.
Yes.
Everything is okay. Everything is fair in love and war. So there should be nothing holding us back, and we should employ the comprehensive national power onto the enemy at the time and place of own choosing to achieve the desired results. Piecemeal application of force dissipates the force, and the concentrated application of force in terms of integrated battle groups or the bigger formations, I think will pay dividends. It's thinking in the right direction and evolving with time and evolving with the technological advancements which are happening in warfare and battlefields.
So am I to understand that these are not just reaction forces, these are not just forces that are defensive? Should the balloon go up, should there be conflict, should, God forbid, Pakistan try and use terror as an instrument of state policy, General Kulkarni, these are forces that will advance into enemy territory and hold ground. Am I to understand that, sir?
To some extent, yes, but otherwise basically light, lethal, and to be able to deter the enemy. And once you've moved in, obviously there are other troops to occupy the ground, that is but they have the ability to hold ground for some time. But the basic aim is to be light, agile, and to be able to be destructive. And therefore, you find that the enemy, once these troops have moved in, that means total destruction wherever they have moved in. And that is the purpose. And as you rightly said, Pakistan, it can't be trusted. Pakistan uses terrorism as an instrument of state policy. If you're expecting Pakistan to behave itself even in the next 100 years, it's impossible according to me. Pakistan has to be taught a lesson. And therefore, it's very important for us to be ready, and ready at very, very short notice. The
Yes.
challenges are totally different today. You really don't know who expected Pahalgam to happen. Nobody expected such a thing to happen at that point of time. And if we were not ready, we would not have been able to have Pakistan on its knees. So it's very essential. You have to be ready 24/7, 365 days with all the equipment, so there is no question of complacency. Your entire force has to be real battle ready at all times, and that itself will give us the result. Otherwise, Pakistan is what Pakistan is. Pakistan will remain what Pakistan is. Expecting them to change is asking for means, and therefore they ought to be taught a lesson whenever they desire or whenever they use terror in India.
Let us now shift our focus to the Bhairav Light Commando Battalion. Now, the Bhairav Light Commando Battalion is an elite special forces unit designed specifically for rapid, high-impact missions along hostile territory. It's described as a lethal formation focused on delivering surprise and shock to adversaries. Let me give you a little more detail about the Bhairav Light Commando units. Now, they comprise agile, lightly armed commandos trained for very swift infiltration into the hostile territory, surveillance to take out vital assets and vital points of the adversary, good at hit-and-run tactics, not as heavily armed as the traditional special forces, but according to the government, they're optimized for very specific tasks that may have been given to inflict as much damage as possible on the enemy for regular forces then to move in. And they're intended for a quick strike. They're intended for quick deployment, rapid deployment, particularly along the LC and the LAC should there be a requirement. What does this do? It enhances India's ability to conduct surgical strikes, precision strikes, and swiftly. Counterinsurgency operations, once again, they can be used, and this was a demonstration during Operation Sindoor, where these forces were able to quickly deploy and be used for tasks that had been given to them. General Dhillon, you were Chinar Corps commander post the Pulwama attack. Your appreciation of the Bhairav Light Commando Battalion, and if I may, sir, how are they different from the Ghataks? And so the Ghatak platoon in every battalion, and of course the special forces, the existing para-special forces, sir.
Gaurav, good you brought out Ghatak also, because there have been cases in the past during exercises and trainings where the brigade commanders were needing something like this Bhairav Battalion. Since they did not have this, they used to brigade the Ghataks. That means all three Ghatak platoons of all three battalions used to be clubbed together and made into a brigaded Ghatak. And that means the strength is about 60-70 now. And then they would insert it into behind the enemy lines or on special missions. So the need was always felt to have a lean, mean, and razor-sharp fit organization or a unit in the formation. So these Bhairav battalions are going to be the same, lean, mean, and razor-sharp, with agile volunteer troops pulled in from the regiment, and they will be working on the concept of sons of soil. That means boys from the Ladakh region will be deployed as a Bhairav battalion in Ladakh. Similarly for Northeast, for J&K, for Punjab, Haryana, Punjab, and then Rajasthan, and so on. The advantage of having the sons of soil who are lightly equipped and who are sharp and who are volunteers and who are equipped with, the things like drones and other things, they can operate behind the enemy lines because they know the language, they know the pattern of the weather, they can live off the land because they have been born and brought up there. So it's a very good concept. It has been tried in the past, like 10 paras were used in 65 and 71, going behind the enemy lines, because they had the troops from that region. Similarly, the sons
Absolutely.
of soil and light and, you know, e- perfectly equipped and motivated because they are going to be volunteers. It's a very good
And everyone
concept, and
remembers.
commanders at all levels will be finding this as a force multiplier in their formation, not only for offensive operations, even if required for defensive operations, where something has to be, some contingency has to be occupied against time. So it's
That's
a
a
very
very
good
interesting
concept.
point
I
you make
applaud you
out.
for it.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point you make, and we all remember the valor of His Highness late Brigadier Bhavani Singh Mahavir Chakra in the 1971 war. General Kulkarni, we have the Ghataks, we have our special forces, the sons of the soil concept. Does that make the Bhairav Battalion, if I may use that word, a game changer in a given situation?
Definitely, Bhairav, they are entirely familiar with the terrain, which is very, very important operating in these areas, be it in high altitude, be it in jungle, be it in desert, and any kind of a terrain. Until and unless you're familiar with the terrain, and that is the most important thing, and be able to live off the land. And they know the language, and they know the terrain, they can live off the land, they know the lay of the ground, they can easily operate and be able to do exactly the task that is been given to them. Right now I won't call them ad hoc organizations like this, but yes, organizations do exist. You have all kinds of, I wouldn't want
The
to name
home
them,
and hearth
but when there are,
battalions, yes.
yeah, there are small bodies, larger bodies, there are Bhatak platoons, everything is there. All of them now get formalized. Right? Now has a WE. It now has everything which it can operate and be given a task. They are light, they're lethal, they're aggressive, they know all of it. And very important in today's circumstances is to know the terrain. If you know the terrain, you can
Absolutely.
win anything and anywhere. If you know the enemy, you know yourself, you know your capabilities, sure enough you will win. There is no question of not winning and not being able to bring the enemy to its knees. It is that what is Bhairav light commando battalions will help, because the para battalions are all become specialized special forces with huge equipment and
Yes.
everything to them. But here they are lighter on feet, agile, lethal,
And
sons of the
sons
soil,
of the soil,
ability
they
to.
know the language, they can live off the land. Jen Dillon, the last 30 seconds I have on this part of the show, interesting that drones become an integral at the platoon level, and that shows the armies keeping up with the times or perhaps staying a step ahead, because drones, this disruptive technology, has proven to be an absolute game changer, and we've seen it during Operation Sindoor.
Absolutely. See, you don't have to be keeping in with times. You have to be one step ahead of time to win the future wars for the nation. So you have to have strategically thinking senior officers, strategically thinking commanders, and the soldiers at heart. So this is exactly the outcome of that. We are not only keeping our traditional way of war fighting alive and the traditional way of homogeneity between the men and the officers alive, but we are changing in organization, in equipment, in employment, and in deployment as per
Okay.
the requirements of the times and the lethality which we want to achieve against the enemy which we have. So it's going to be different for the western borders. It's going to be different for the northern borders. Because as
General
Jalkar
Kulkarni,
rightly
General
said,
Kulkarni,
terrain plays
I,
the most important role.
yes, General Kulkarni, what is your take on the names Rudra Brigade, Bhairav Battalion, Shaktiban Regiment, or Divyastra Battery? Because in the past, while we had names like the Rajput Regiment or Rajputana Rifles or the Jat Regiment, Punjab Regiment, Sikh Regiment, Sikh Light Infantry, Gurkhas, Marathas, Madras Regiment, all of that were either caste, region, community centric. Then post-independence, it became Rashtriya Rifles. Now, when you bring in names like Bhairav and Rudra, what is the indication, sir? Your take on it?
See, God, they instill pride. They instill that, what is that fierce moment. They instill that kind of a blood running through you to ensure shock and awe action, because you know these are the fierce forms of Shiva, both Rudra and Bhairav. And that is what is very important. Anything that inspires you, anything that motivates you, anything that instills in you that you can kill the enemy, that killing instinct has to come. And that
Okay.
these names bring the killing instinct. And that when you say kamikaze, drone, when you know that what it means. If you are saying killer drone, you know what it means. If you're saying suicidal drones, you know what it means. And therefore they deliver, they do the task. And each man is here to perform because he knows that is what he's there
Okay.
for. Like
General
Rudra
Dillon?
said, every man, yeah.
Okay, General Dillon, your take on these names, Rudra, Bhairav, when it comes to a brigade and a battalion?
Gaurav, nothing motivates a soldier more than the name of his Paltan or his regiment. You know, and I'm not talking about any religion inclinations here. Whatever the name of a unit or a Paltan, as long as you live up to it, you fight for it, you die for it, I think that is the motivating factor, that is the unifying factors in the army. And we have the different regiments name on regions, on religions, on castes, on your communities. And this is another way of motivating the troops and keeping them agile and alert for any operations. I think I'm all for it.
I will let that be the last word on this part of the show. General Kulkarni and General Dillon for joining me here on this Battle Cry special broadcast. Many thanks, because before I leave you, I want to leave you with these lines of Guru Gobind Singh Ji that actually inspired the entire war against tyrants, how he fought and fought to the end against tyranny. What inspired him? These epic lines that continue to inspire a billion-strong nation. De Shiva bar mohe ehe, shubh karman se kapahu na taru, na daru ari soh jab jaye larau, निश्चय कर अपनी जीत का।